person packs up their life in the US and moves abroad, and it's nothing but fun adventures ahead of them, right? No. Unfortunately, it's not that straightforward. There's this grip that the US government has on the whole financial situation that US person experiences when they go abroad. It's gotten more complicated over the years, so I wanted to just talk about that experience and the gotchas. So the first thing to understand is that the US is a citizenship-based taxation system. For every country on the planet, apart from the US and Eritrea, taxation is based on your residency. So basically, even though I worked for British companies, earned British pounds, paid taxes on my British pounds, I file a federal tax return to the United States every year without fail. Actually, it's a whole lot more than just an annual tax return. It should be pretty clear I'm not a financial advisor, but I've been through everything. So the US government doesn't just want to know what you earn, they also want to know all about your assets. So there's two things that are kind of overlapping, but it impacts us now. So the first one is called the FBAR, and it's the Report of Foreign Bank and Financial Accounts. It's a disclosure report that you file with the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, and its goal is to fight financial crimes like money laundering, which is fair enough, but it captures all of these ordinary, everyday Americans who are living abroad and swoops us all into the same net. So what does that mean? So if your foreign assets, and that includes basically any type of financial account, if those foreign assets have a combined total of $10,000 at any point during the financial year, then you must file the FBAR. It's pretty straightforward. You can do it online. To be honest, the most onerous thing is having to go through and work out your high balance of all of your accounts. And like I said, I've been here many years. I have various current accounts, savings accounts, pensions. Having a system really helps. The other game changer is something called FATCA, which is the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act. So FBAR makes you report on your accounts. FATCA forces the world's banks to report on your accounts. Every foreign bank has to report the details of their US clients directly to the IRS. And a lot of times, the banks don't want to be doing that. It's like a whole compliance thing, a lot of burden on them. So a lot of times, if they find out you're from the US, they will just show you the door. So it has meant I can only really bank with the larger banking institutions or the ones that already have a presence in the US. So the tax return. So that's only a federal tax return. I don't have to do a state tax return because I don't have any kind of connection to any states in a way that I'd be responsible for tax. Like if I had a house and I was renting it out, like I don't have any of that. In fact, it's probably worth mentioning there's this reciprocal tax agreement that the US has with a lot of other countries. Although the US person is paying taxes in their foreign country, they're not paying taxes twice in most cases. So there's different ways to file your federal tax returns. The easiest is using online software. So what I did last year is I used something called Expat Tax, and I liked it because it was very much set up for my needs. Like it wasn't making any kind of assumptions that like TurboTax did. I would probably use Expat Tax again. If any US citizens are watching this and want to try it out, I'll leave a link in the description. There's a discount code. One of the other big challenges as a US citizen abroad is we can't invest like normal people would. So over here, like people talk about the stocks and shares ISA, that is not available to me. That is off limits because the US would treat it as me investing in a foreign. I think there's some harsh tax penalties, put it that way. It would be really tricky if I wanted to form a foreign corporation. I have had a limited company in the UK before, and it was just me as a freelancer, and it got really complicated. I had to pay for a UK-based accountant to do all of that paperwork. The US tax year runs from the 1st of January to the 31st of December, which is yet another complication because it doesn't match up here in the UK. It doesn't encourage you to be an entrepreneur. So yeah, investing in any non-US is considered, having an interest in a foreign corporation, which the US views as very suspicious. So that's a whole minefield. To the best of my knowledge, the safe investments for American citizens abroad are things like property and pensions. Cash savings is okay. I remember asking about premium bonds. I think that's kind of a gray area. Yeah, definitely no stocks and shares ISAs. Definitely, I couldn't go onto Nutmeg or one of those investing platforms and get shares that way. Absolutely not. Um, and furthermore, if I wanted to do something in the US for investing, they require you to have a US address. And not every American that goes abroad still has a US address. I mean, I would say most of us don't. I just happen to be able to use a family member's address. But I don't know what's going to happen long term. Yeah. It's complicated. It's complicated. There's a whole lot of information I don't fully understand still. Things like, how is it going to work when it comes to get my state pension? I have verified that I can collect my US state pension while I'm abroad. And I have heard of stories of accidental Americans. And by accidental American, I mean people who were born with US citizenship and they had to file tax returns year after year. And I know somebody who happened to be born in the US. His parents were there for work, and then they moved back to Britain, and this guy had no intention of living in the US, so he ended up renouncing his citizenship. And I mean, that in that instance, I think is absolutely the right thing to do. If you're somebody like me, and it's complicated because if you have lots of family over there, you don't want to renounce necessarily. Oh, and of course, you can't renounce if you don't have another citizenship. Every American I know that's been here long term has dual citizenship now. It's the main benefits are, well, you have a second passport and you get to vote. And you're if this country is your home now, then you don't want to be in a situation where you aren't allowed back in. Also, I mentioned renunciation. That's getting more complicated and expensive. Yeah, it's basically about $2,000 to renounce. And if you have substantial assets, they can also claim a part of that. So the point of this video is I just wanted to share a few more thoughts that kind of go beyond like the simple things like grocery shopping and, getting a GP. It's like there's a whole heap of behind the scenes stresses that people from the US will need to face at some stage if they decide to live abroad, whether they're in the UK or somewhere else in the world. If you have any curious thoughts, I would love to hear them. Most of my British friends assume that once you leave the country, you're free from its red tape. For those of us born in the US, that's not the case. Being a dual citizen has taught me a lot about what freedom really means and how complicated it can be when two countries both claim you. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. For a complete change of speed, you might want to check out my British Housequirks video